So you're thinking about making a move to the Boise, Idaho area, but you're still trying to figure out what's the best city for you and your family. Well, today I'm going to look at two of the absolute favorites. We're going to talk about Meridian and Eagle, Idaho, and we're going to try and compare them just a little bit head to head to help you make the best decision that you can. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. Welcome back. I'm Chase Dolan, and this is Living in Boise, where I show you what it's like to live, work, and play here in Boise and the greater surrounding areas. If this is your first time to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. That way you are the first to know anything that you need to know about Boise and the greater Treasure Valley area. And if you didn't know, I'm a local agent up here in the Valley, and I help people just like you decide if relocating to the Boise, Idaho area is the best move for them. So whether you're making a move in 9 days or 9 months, I do not care. Call, text, email, whatever it is that I can help with, I would absolutely love to. All of my information is down below so that we can figure out the best plan out there so that your move to Boise, Idaho is as smooth as can be. But let's get started on that by identifying which of these towns, Meridian and Eagle, Idaho, might match your needs just a little bit better. To get started, I always like to talk just a little bit about the vibe and feel of each of these cities. When we're looking at Meridian and Eagle, they are bordered on each other. So there's going to be a lot of similarities in terms of the different access to things, cost of living, all of that. But they are very different cities in terms of kind of the pace of life and the overall size and the growth that is happening. When we look at Meridian, Meridian is the second biggest city and the biggest suburb of Boise here in the Treasure Valley with just over 120,000 people. For the past 5 years or so, Meridian has consistently been on the fastest growing cities in America, the best cities to live in, all of the different lists, which have really led to this growth and expansion that has caught a lot of people off guard, but it's really transformed Meridian for anybody who's been here for an extended period of time. There are a ton of great restaurants, shopping. It's located right in the center of the valley, so it's kind of at the nexus of everything. So you're most likely going to be going through Meridian or have to go to Meridian for something. Meridian really is kind of a big hub of the Treasure Valley right outside of Boise. Eagle, on the other hand, is quite a bit more of a slow-paced, small town feel. It is a much smaller town with a population of just over 30,000 people. And this small town feel really comes through with the restaurants that are available. There are a ton of great dining options in Eagle itself, but they're going to be a little bit more local focused. They're not going to be these massive chains. Outside of, I believe, a McDonald's, there's a Wendy's, a couple of other fast food restaurants, there's a Dickey's barbecue. You're not going to find a ton of chain restaurants in Eagle itself. You're also going to have a ton of kind of small town events in Eagle, whether it's the Eagle Fun Days, the Harvest Festival, a small farmers market. A lot of it is that small town atmosphere. There's not much of a nightlife really in either of these towns, but specifically in Eagle, there's not a lot of places to go out and even have a drink that's open past 10 p.m. And then Eagle also has some of the best outdoor activities in our valley, with the river actually going through it, and then Eagle Island State Park. And on that note, let's talk a little bit about the actual recreation and nature opportunities in Meridian and Eagle respectively. Like I just said, Eagle has Eagle Island State Park, which really gives it a leg up on the competition of Meridian here. Eagle Island is a great place to go out, do different outdoor activities, bring your family, have a day. There's trails out there so that you can take your dog, your kids, you can go horseback riding. They have a massive zip line. They have a disc golf course. They have all sorts of different activities going on, and then in the winter they actually adapt a lot of it to make this massive big tubing hill. Overall, it's just a really cool place to check out, and if you're in town, I highly recommend add that to your list because it's a favorite amongst everybody, but especially kids, families, etc. Eagle also has the Boise River going through most of its town, so the Greenbelt has really good access from Eagle itself. For those of you that don't know, the Greenbelt runs along the Boise River for about 25 miles from the southeast of Boise all the way out through Star. It's a great place to go for a walk with the kids, the dog, by yourself, go for a run. Gives you access down to the river. There's some beaches, you can go fly fishing. Overall, just a great kind of amenity to have in your town. And then Eagle also puts a really big premium on green space and parks when they're talking about the development that has been happening and is only going to continue to come. This is something that I really value when I'm looking at a city, is the proximity that I have to parks, to things that I can go out and do, especially as we start to have kids and such. I think it's important to have those things and not just have development take over all of the natural beauty that we have. And then right on the edge of Eagle, there's the Eagle Bike Park. It's this massive dirt bike, BMX bike track where you can go out, actually get out and have some fun, compete with other people. There's going to be a skate park there. There's a couple of different dog parks, all sorts of stuff. Now on the flip side, Meridian has got parks everywhere. They've got a couple of really big parks in Kleiner Park right by the village, and then Settlers Park in the heart of Meridian, and this one will have pickleball courts. It has actual permanent cornhole, horseshoes, it's got the tennis, basketball courts. This is going to be a big place. If you have kids competing in sports really in Eagle, Meridian, any of the areas, you're probably going to be at Settlers Park because this is where we have a lot of the baseball fields. We have a lot of the big green space for football, soccer, and then throughout Meridian we have a ton of a little bit smaller neighborhood parks that I see kind of being on the horizon as we look at Eagle and the continued expansion. Now, as somebody who's my wife and I have started to get into pickleball towards the beginning of summer, we're still kind of new to it, but we have noticed that when we're looking for somewhere to go, there are going to be more options in Meridian than there are in Eagle at this time. And then when we're talking about golf, Eagle has a couple of different golf courses that you can choose from, and then Meridian's also going to have about 2 or 3. So you're not going to have vast different choices in either of these towns, but you're going to have enough that can kind of give you some variety. And something that I talk about a lot on the channel is everything's still in close enough proximity here that if you want to go to Meridian, Boise, Nampa for a new golf course, test out something new, you're looking at a 15 to 20 minute drive, which most likely won't deter you and really be a determining factor. And then both of these have really good access to the great outdoors. When we're talking about getting up to the Payette River, the Sawtooth, you want to go on an alpine lake hike, all of these different things. Whatever you want to do, both Eagle and Meridian have really good access, but Eagle's going to win here just a little bit more because from Meridian, you basically have to go through Eagle to get where you're going. So if you want to be about 20 minutes closer, choose Eagle. Now let's shift away from the outdoors a little bit and talk about just things to do, places to go see, kind of the shopping, restaurants, culture, entertainment in both of these towns. When I'm looking at both of them kind of from a big overlooking glance, both Meridian and Eagle are trying to hold on to that small town Idaho feel in their own ways. Meridian, though, has already grown out of a lot of the things that would make a small town Idaho. Eagle, on the other hand, hasn't had that growth yet, so they're still holding on and have a little bit more of that small town character than Meridian has, and frankly, I don't know if Meridian will be able to get back there. Meridian's gonna have a lot more things to do than Eagle. You're gonna have Topgolf, which just came last year. You're gonna have the Meridian Speedway, which every single week during the summer on Saturday, they have different levels of races. You're gonna have the Village at Meridian for shopping, restaurants, and then their downtown is getting revitalized, so it'll offer you a ton of different things to do, places to go see, brunch, trivia, all of that. And then a big one, in Eagle, you're not gonna find chain restaurants pretty much anywhere. In Meridian, especially on Eagle Road, any chain that you want, you can probably find them out there. Now with Eagle, kind of like what I said, they're still able to hold on to that small town culture just a little bit more. This comes through big time when we're looking at the different restaurants and shopping that are available. The focus in Eagle is much more on local spots, niche spots. We see that the places that they choose to bring here are much more intentional. You're also going to notice when you look at a map, and if you want a full map tour of either of these cities, go ahead, there's a whole playlist on some different map tours. But when you're looking at the location of these different restaurants, shopping, and commercial centers, in Eagle, they're going to be pretty centrally located right off State Street and Eagle Road in downtown Eagle. Whereas in Meridian, you're going to have some big hubs off of Eagle Road, but you're going to have a lot more different opportunities, services, commercial spots throughout the city. This could be seen as a pro or a con depending on what you're looking for. We live out in Eagle now, but we lived in Meridian up until this point. At times, we wish there was something just a little bit closer when we're just craving some ice cream, for example. But we also like that we're separated enough that we're not consistently running into the traffic or the noise, anything like that. It's kind of a game of which one do you want more. Both of these cities have really easy access to healthcare and all of the different services. Meridian is just closer to the highway itself. So if you need to get to downtown Boise, out to Nampa, anywhere in particular for some specific need, Meridian's gonna be a little bit easier for you. And with all of this, the overall theme that I hope you're picking up on is that there's just more stuff in Meridian and more opportunities. This also comes through in the job market. You're gonna find more jobs and companies and headquarters and such in Meridian than you're gonna find in Eagle. We're starting to have some companies kind of build different campuses and such in Eagle itself, but they're still few and far between. So for the most part, you're probably going to have more odds of working in Meridian and having to commute there. So if you want to shave time off your commute, obviously live in Meridian. But if you are okay with that little bit longer of a commute, just know that that's what you're expecting. But don't be scared. Like I said, I live in Eagle and my office is in the village. So when I go in, it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes, even when there's pretty bad traffic. Now let's talk a little bit about the housing and the different costs that are associated with each of these towns. I'm gonna get it out of the way to start with. Eagle is gonna be more expensive. In terms of our entire valley, Eagle is gonna be the most expensive by a pretty large margin than the other cities around. I never like to put specific numbers in these videos because those numbers change so fast and so dramatically. But as of filming this video, the median price point in Eagle compared to Meridian was about $300,000 higher. And I talk about it a lot on the channel, but I attribute a lot of this to the location and the really cool luxury neighborhoods that Eagle is able to offer because of the access to the river. In this portion of Eagle, you're gonna have a ton of homes that actually have waterfront access. You're just gonna have a new level of home, which when you're starting to price homes in that $2-3 million range, that's going to prop up your price point just a little bit. And then on the north end of Eagle, as we see developments starting to spread out there, you have a ton of acreage developments where you're gonna have multi-million-dollar luxury new homes on these massive parcels. So even with such a disparity between the median price, when I'm talking to clients and they're looking for that entry-level home, we're just looking for what could my budget get me. When we're looking in Eagle, Idaho, before we cross it off the list, I really want you to be at least in the 400,000s, preferably in that 450 to 5. That's going to give you a lot more options. But then in Meridian, we could probably find you something closer to that $350,000 mark, 400 if you really want to kind of have your pick of the pie. So when we really narrow in on the same home in Meridian versus Eagle, you're gonna spend more in Eagle. Your buck just isn't gonna stretch as far, but we're not gonna be looking at a double the price in Eagle. So if you were to pick up the same home in Eagle, and let's say it's priced at $700,000, you could probably get something pretty similar in Meridian for closer to that $600,000 mark. And of course, there's reasons behind this. People really like living in Eagle itself, but if you're looking at the same home and budget is your primary concern, Meridian's gonna be the better choice. But outside of that overall cost and some of the really high-end luxury communities in Eagle, you're gonna find a lot of similarities in the type of housing that is available between these two. Both of these towns are primarily gonna be big suburban developments. If you're looking for waterfront property, Meridian's gonna have some options for you, but you're gonna find a lot more options in Eagle. Whether you're looking at Legacy, Terra View, where they're building these massive man-made lakes. We've got Riverstone that has a ton of waterfront homes. And then down by the river, whether it's Mace River Ranch, Two Rivers, Banbury, all of these different neighborhoods in that little section next to the river, you're going to be able to find those. If you're looking for mature neighborhoods with that mature landscaping and a little bit of character, you're going to find both of those in Meridian and Eagle, as well as new construction is prevalent in both of these cities. Now, we're talking about land and lot size. If this is something that's super important to you, you're probably going to have some really good luck in Eagle just because there's more room to grow and the developments out here are focused a little bit more on that. But in both Meridian and Eagle, garages, pretty standard. You're going to have a 2-car on most. 3-car garages are pretty popular, and here in Eagle, you find them almost everywhere, especially in the new construction. RV garages, boat bays, kind of those specialty garages with the higher doors, they're going to be pretty easy to find in both of these cities. Now, when comparing Meridian and Eagle and the housing cost in particular, something that I always like to point out is we really want to spread it into 3 different zones. We've got Eagle, we've got North Meridian, and then we have South Meridian. On the whole, Meridian is going to be less expensive than Eagle, but I always like to talk to clients about if you're going to be in North Meridian and only a few minutes from Eagle, some of the big neighborhoods out there, the Spurwing, Bainbridge, Bridge Tower, these really, really nice neighborhoods, you're really not going to see as big of a price difference between each of the cities. Now, if we're comparing Eagle to South Meridian, for example, that's where we can start to see, but we have builders building the same home in a very similar level of neighborhood. Finishes and kind of the luxury spots in each of them will differ because the South Meridian market is very different than Eagle. But when we're looking at both, if you're looking to build with this builder in South Meridian, and let's say the home is $500,000, it is not going to be out of the realm that that same home, floor plan and everything in Eagle might cost you $700,000 to $800,000. So when we're really comparing those kinds of costs, Eagle and South Meridian are going to have a pretty drastic difference. Eagle and North Meridian will be a little bit closer. And then a quick note on the cost outside of housing. Eagle and Meridian border up against each other. We still have a small enough population here in the valley that we have all of the same utility companies for the most part. The taxes are going to be pretty similar. We have the same grocery stores. All of these different things, they're so similar here that there really isn't that big of a difference at all. All right, and to wrap things up, I have one final note for those of you that are looking and kind of deciding which of these is a little bit more family friendly. The really good thing, and probably something that might not be super helpful to hear when we're comparing the two cities, is Eagle and Meridian are gonna be the top two cities basically for families in our valley. With niche.com rating Eagle as the #1 suburb in the Boise area to raise a family, and then #2 is Meridian. So both of them have some really good things in terms of the schools, the safety, the parks, everything that you're looking for when you're raising your family. These are both going to be really good options. So to bring it all together, when we're comparing Meridian and Eagle, there's going to be a lot of similarities purely because they are neighboring cities. But when we're looking at the overall differences, the main focus is just going to be on Meridian is going to feel like a much bigger town than Eagle is. This is coming through in the developments that are coming. There's a little bit more focus in Meridian now on getting housing for that population. It's growing at a very rapid pace. Eagle is a little bit more resistant to development, and they try to move at a little bit more of a sustainable or slower pace. And with this, Eagle just has a little bit more of that small town feel and character that Meridian just doesn't have. Meridian's gonna have a lot more things to do, places to see, places to visit. And then when we're talking about housing costs, Meridian is gonna be a little bit more bang for your buck than Eagle's going to, depending on where you're in Meridian. So at the end of the day, I've lived in both of these cities and they are my two favorite in our entire valley. So you really can't go wrong with either. But when you're looking at this list, start to think, what are the priorities for you and your family and which one lines up just a little bit better? You're going to start to nitpick a little bit when you're trying to decide on very specific things that work, but that's what I'm here for. So if you have any specific questions at all of my info is down in the description. Call, text, email, whatever works best for you. I would love to help. But until then, I will see you all on the next one.